With a honed Zen and Tantric lens that is accompanied by the wisdom of indigenous spirituality, we dive deep into current events and cultural happenings to bear hug spaciousness and hope, and to kill the Buddha on the road. Our host, Carlos Molina Gaylord, is an art historian, mystic, educator and writer, visual and music arts geek, and husband. He's awake, and he's got a lot on his mind. This is Inside My Big Dharma Head.
Hi, welcome to the show. So glad you're with us. If you like the program and don't want to miss an episode, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, please take a moment to leave feedback in the comments area from wherever you are downloading or listening to this podcast. It really does help spread awareness of our program. So thank you all in advance. And to all my Dharma teachers and friends, thank you so much for your light and wisdom. You make this possible. So, let's talk about spirituality's bad boy, thought. This word and what it stands for is literally the talk of most Eastern philosophy and spirituality today. Friends, let's be honest, everyone takes a shit on thought. Shitting on thought has become a spiritual learning cornerstone for many teachers and traditions worldwide. In other words, the assassination of thought has become our most prized spiritual technique and approach today for awakening, and it's doing us more harm than good. So, how on this blessed earth did shitting on thought become the cornerstone of spiritual learning? The spiritual practice of shitting on thought is a foreign concept in my spiritual practice. It just never made its way into my spiritual development, even though I had countless teachers, books, and Dharma friends all saying, get rid of your thoughts. I listened to every single one of them, but it just didn't feel natural to me. And I didn't feel comfortable having a spiritual practice that was leveraged on a boogeyman. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to this position. And you're probably thinking, who's this guy to say these things? You're right, I'm a nobody. But I know what my experience has taught me. So no matter what, I'm still not going to shit on thought. I'm too busy learning with it. So, how does this approach harm us? Well, demonizing thought, or the conceptual mind, promotes, advances, and endorses a culture of devalue that completely disregards thought's sacred purpose and origin. In other words, when we shit on thinking, we completely shit on the human world where thinking is taking place. And we feel like crap because thoughts are literally our existence. It's how we know our world and how we navigate our world. So we're taught that our lives with thought are meaningless or only have some value. So, in other words, we should accept that thought or the conceptual mind is wisdom's second-class citizen. This premise ultimately is what creates paradoxes of being for Dharma learners. They simply can't reconcile why thought or the conceptual mind shows up the way it does, and why we have thinking and thought the way we do. So we're constantly taught a million reasons why thought is an obstacle. It's the status quo. This spiritual technique and approach today for awakening actively draws us away from the living and gracious fact that thought and the conceptual mind and the universe where it shows up is completely primordial wisdom's holy body. Thought and our everyday world is completely fine the way it is. So yes, thought, the conceptual mind, and our everyday world is perfectly fine the way it is. It's here because it has and it is sacred and wise purpose. This is fact. But friends, check this out. I'm not saying that thought and everyday thinking doesn't have tremendous problems. It does. This is what I'm saying. We need to compassionately educate the wisdom body that is thought and let it transform to new frontiers. No more trampling on it. No more calling it stupid or less than. Although it's not the same functioning as awakened wisdom, thought or the conceptual mind's functioning is primordially sacred. It is completely primordial wisdom's genius, grace, love, and equality. This is the how and why of the statement. Thinking or the conceptual mind is perfectly fine the way it is. The root cause of unawakening isn't thought or the conceptual mind. My sacred living practice that loves this earth so much knows this. And that is why I talk about thought this way. And I see now that my teachers didn't feel the need to devalue thought to brilliantly pass on the Dharma. In their work, my teachers from the very beginning always saw the holy origins of thought, and that's why they didn't pass on the practice of shitting on thought. They valued thought and saw its true body. So thought was never an obstacle for learning. It was an ally, wisdom's ally. They could differentiate between the different roles of awakened wisdom and thought wisdom without having to shit on one or elevate the other. And in not devaluing thought, they didn't devalue or demean sacred human living. Thought shows up as a refuge for love itself, for wisdom itself. I'm glad that my teachers questioned the approach that every Dharma learner should shit on thought. They upturned this harmful, unquestioned inherency like brilliant Dharma practitioners should. So I want to make this clear. I'm not shitting on traditions that teach like this. Hear me. My root traditions all teach that thought is a culprit to awakening, some more than others. But I still unconditionally love them, and I feel their love. So that they teach negatively about thought or the conceptual mind doesn't define them, and it doesn't define their brilliancy, and it for sure doesn't define primordial wisdom. There can be disagreements and different approaches. That's the most important thing. So we need to keep the conversation and learning alive and anew. There's always new teaching methods and approaches on the horizon. We just got to look. And for me, I'm always going to walk into the horizon that honors the fact that this world, with its humanity and conceptual mind, is totally sacred. In my heart, I know this world to be the most holy, without hierarchical status. So the brilliancy of thought is natural. See for yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and WordPress at Big Dharma Head. You can find a transcript of this episode at WordPress under the Episodes tab. And any questions you have, including ones about support and sponsorship, please send them to bigdharmahead@gmail.com. We'd also love to hear your ideas on possible future shows and how we can make the program better for you. Until next time, always be true to your learning so that you can love it to new, brilliant frontiers.